Hey! Hello everyone, this is Aegon of Astora, and welcome back to my blind playthrough of Elden Ring. This is episode number 13 being recorded on Wednesday the 31st of August, 2022. I hope you're all having a fantastic day whenever it is you find yourself watching this. What the heck? It's hard to even tell what the bird tree is growing out of there. Okay, we don't have a lot of time for recording today, so I'm going to get right into it with my list and the things that we need to discuss. First and foremost, didn't really notice this. Like, I noticed it, but I didn't. I was so sort of taken aback by the rest of the details at the top of the Divine Tower that I didn't notice that there was another set of fingers here. So just like the fingers we saw in the Roundtable Hold, which has me wondering whether we're looking at another Dreamlands type situation here, in the sense that this being is seemingly dead in the real world, although of course there's no telling how many fingers there are. There are of course other divine towers, and I'm wondering now whether each divine tower has a set of fingers. And maybe one of them is a finger and a thumb. I don't know. But this is clearly the same two fingers. I say clearly. It looks like the same two fingers as those that we saw in the Roundtable Hold. And looking at it now, it also... Gosh, I hate that I now have to... I hate having uneven things equipped in my left and my right hand. Because we now have something to cast stuff with in our left hand, so we're going to have to re-equip and unequip the torch. But this looks a lot like a tree. I don't know what type of tree it is, but you can very clearly see sort of the wood underneath, and it's got the bark on the outside. So it's a tree. I can't explain the hair growing out of it, which looks like knuckle hair. But yeah, they're fingers that are also a tree. And then nestled between the two fingers was, of course, the benediction that was missing from the great rune that we picked up in the previous episode. So, as you should be able to see now in the upper left, we have equipped the rune. I wasn't sure how to do it in the previous episode. I was questioning how that's supposed to work, because that is what I assumed was going to be the spot for the covenants in this game, and maybe the covenants and the great runes are the same. I'm not quite sure. Or if there are even covenants in this game, I don't know, or the equivalent of covenants, whatever they would be called in this. But yeah, we have it equipped, which is a thing, and also I have leveled up a few times, although that extra point in vigor is coming from somewhere else. I think it might be our hood. It is indeed our hood. So yeah, we have 20 in vigor, endurance, strength, dex, and then 13 in intelligence and faith, so that we can use Order's Blade, and we don't have to run away from those who live in death anymore. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I wanted to start here just to point that out, because it's not something that I explicitly mentioned in the previous episode. I was kind of like tired and out of it by that point, so just decided... Well, I didn't decide. I was sort of overwhelmed by everything. In a good way, not in a bad way, but yeah. So the rune was in the middle, and then off camera, while farming, I engaged in co-op and helped some people defeat bosses in the Stormveil Castle. So I believe, I want to say I helped 2 people beat Godric and 1 person beat Margit the Fell Omen. And so for that, we got the Rune Arc, a shard of the Shattered Elden Ring. Grants the blessing of an equipped Great Rune upon use. Even if no Great Rune is equipped, it will slightly increase maximum HP upon use. The lower arc of the Elden Ring is held to be the basin in which its blessings pool. Perhaps this shard originates from that very arc. So I understand what the Elden Ring is now, in other words, because if you look at the rune itself, you can see, what did I just do? That the Great Rune, this Great Rune is known as the Anchor Ring. It's found in the center of the Elden Ring. So the Elden Ring is the logo of, the thing that appears in the logo of the game, is all of the runes, the Great Runes, together. And that for some reason at some point someone shattered the Elden Ring and thus separating all of the different runes. And so there was that, but then I'm still not clear on the shattering. So was the shattering that which reduced the Great Runes to things without benediction? Did the fingers sacrifice themselves to separate the Great Runes such that each Great Rune was a shell of its former self, and then the benediction was hidden away in a divine tower? I don't really know. In looking at the help thing for Great Runes, it says that the Great Runes you receive by defeating Shardbearers have lost their beneficial power. However, their power can be restored at divine towers throughout the lands between. See the description of each Great Rune to discover which divine tower you should visit. So now I want to say we can see different, you can absolutely see different divine towers in the distance. So this one, I have no idea what this one is. Presumably, no idea what that one is, but there's a divine tower here. Divine tower here, at what looks like the end of the planet, whatever planet we're on. There is another divine tower over here. Based on where we're looking, again, no idea where that is. There is a divine tower, I do have a sense of where it is, and that is this one here. Because I want to say, based on where I'm looking, oh wait, or is it? This may or may not be the divine tower associated with the Academy of Raya Lucaria. So this right here is obviously Stormveil Castle. Yeah, I'm going to say this is the Raya Lucaria Divine Tower. And then we also have one that will be all the way to the south in what I believe is called the Weeping Peninsula. And yeah, don't really have a clear picture of what's over there just yet. So we have quite a ways to go. My assumption is that once we get all the Great Runes and reunify them, then we end up either going to fight a final boss, or we end up in a situation where, we're opened up to the next part of the game. And my assumption is it's probably safer to assume the latter, given how massive this game has been thus far. But let me just look at my list to see what I still have left, because there are a couple other items here. So actually, for the next one, we're going to go to the Divine Tower Bridge. Okay, it didn't work, but something I noticed while editing the previous... Yeah, okay, so right in front of us. The shadows moving. So I noticed that in the previous episode, that the shadows move when you're going from one area to the next. But I assumed maybe it was just, okay, it's that time of day where the time of day is shifting. And, you know, maybe it was a bit accelerated, but I didn't think it was. So is this going to happen again now? Because you see sort of the shadow. Yeah, so the time of day shifts very, very quickly. So in other words, there's a light source in the sky. In our world on Earth, we would say, obviously, the sun. It's not actually moving relative to us, but it looks like it's moving relative to us. That we would, you know, when you see a shadow moving like that, you see it over the course of the day. The sun moves overhead, and, you know, the shadow it casts moves because it's moving in relation, or, you know, again, the Earth is rotating and moving in relation to the sun, which creates the shadow based on the buildings and whatnot. Whereas what's happening here is that, yeah, we're transitioning from one area to the other, and then based on what particular weather patterns FromSoft wants us to see, the shadows are moving. And so I praised FromSoft in an earlier episode, I believe with respect to Stormveil, that, you know, once you go into this new area, wow, look at that. Like, you don't actually, it's not such a hard transition from one weather pattern to the next. Whereas here, it is definitely a very hard transition. And then you see just, yeah, like this isn't the way a world should work. So, of course, there is the possibility that this is actually what they intended, and that there's something going on here in terms of the world and its cosmology, which you can explain from a lore perspective as to why this is happening. I'm inclined to believe at this point in time that that is just a major oversight, that perhaps this is supposed to trigger while you're walking, and I guess in this instance it does trigger while you're walking from one area to the other, but the transition area is not large enough to make it seamless. So you're always going to see the shadow shifting when going from one area to the other. I'm sure this is something that has been pointed out previously. And if it hasn't, then welcome to my YouTube channel, where we discover really strange and inconsequential things about the mechanics of the game and try to question and get a sense of whether it might actually have something to do with the story. Again, I'm inclined to believe that it probably doesn't have anything to do with it, but that was just something I noticed that I wanted to mention. In looking at my list here, do we have anything else? We have 2 more items, which I think I will get into. I think I'll get into those items as we make our way through the list of areas that we have. So, Divine Tower we've just done, so I'm going to remove that. Secluded Cell is where we have to go next. Oh yes, I now remember why this is on the list, so let's head there now. So yeah, as I mentioned, not a ton of time to record today, so I might just refer to this episode as, I was going to say Limgrave, Stormveil Castle 5 or 4 or something like that, and we'll wrap up loose ends here and then see, yeah, maybe we can do the one catacomb that we have yet to do. What's it called? The Deathtouched Catacombs. But something I noticed off camera, again, just was doing some farming in the castle, and I noticed that Gatekeeper Gostok, I believe his name was, is in the boss room stomping something. I don't know what he's doing, but he seems rather upset. So we should go say hello and see if we can figure out what's going on. Hi, friend. You okay there?
Pathetic excuse for a lord you were. Craven to the bone. pushing me about like that? And after all that grafting, where did that get you? Look down on me, would ya? Godric, you filthy slug. Feel it. Feel it. Feel my bloody wrath.
Okay. So it would seem like... Yeah, anyways, let's have a chat. Hi there, friend. Maybe shouldn't desecrate the dead, but yeah, I wasn't a fan of Godric either, so I can empathize.
Oh, hello there. This weasel was... Godric was always looking down on me. He got what he bloody deserved thanks to you. I tell you though, what goes around comes around. He had an ugly heart, an uglier countenance, and met the ugliest of ends, eh?
Okay, it doesn't look like he has anything new. Okay, well, carry on, friend. You're doing great. You might want to maybe remove the crown. You'll be able to sell it or something. Yeah, I guess if you find it helpful, then, you know, have at it. Let's see if we rezone, if they're still there. Yep. Still doing his thing. Okay, well, that's, yeah. I guess I'm not one to judge, but yeah. Okay, another thing I noticed off camera was that Nefeli Lu is here somewhere. There she is. Hi, friend.
You again. I thought you'd receive a summons to the round table. Nefeli Lu. We met at Stormveil. I'm glad to see you here. I have something for you. I found it in Godric's grafting grounds. You defeated him. You should have it. Make good use of it. I don't intend to make a habit of scavenging corpses.
Arsenal charm. Well, that's nice of her. An iron charm that resembles a mass of weaponry. Boosts maximum equipment load. This talisman was derived from an unusual greatsword once wielded by a hero hungry for vengeance. Who is that?
Ah, yes. I wonder if you've met my foster father. He's in his study. The room Ensha's guarding just over there. If you haven't already, I advise you introduce yourself. Father is leader of the Round Table. I'm sure talking to him will be worth your while.
Well, I tried, friend, but he wasn't very nice to me.
It's about time I headed off. I'll see you again, warrior, should the fates deign it.
Okay, well, take care. She still won't talk to me. Hello, your daughter says I should speak with you.
You've received the wisdom of the Two Fingers, have you not? Then, just as promised, I bid you welcome. As a true member of the Round Table, I am known as Gideon Ofnir. As a Tarnished who wishes to stand before the Elden Ring and become Elden Lord, I am accumulating knowledge. To be all-knowing. You now belong to a select group of fellows. As such, I ask that you remain constant.
I remain constant. What does that mean?
You'll be after more great runes now, eh? Then as your fellow, allow me to divulge a little knowledge. The inheritors of the great runes, the Shard Bearers. We of the Round Table know the location of 5 of them, including the one you defeated. Godric the Grafted, Lord of Stormveil. General Radahn, who fought Melania and her rot to a standstill in the Caelid wilds. Praetor Rykard, Lord of the Volcano Manor of Mount Gelmir. Morgoth the Grace-Given, Veiled Monarch and Lord of Leyndell. And Renala, Queen of the Full Moon, ruler of Rhea.
Okay, friend, these are very complex names. I'm not going to be able to remember all of these.
Won't you?
Oh my goodness, okay. Let's start by asking about your daughter. I know you didn't say anything about her, but tell me about Nefeli Lu.
I understand you've been speaking to Nefeli. She's my daughter. I took her in when she lost the guidance of grace. Though a mere axe-wielding barbarian, her youthful credulity suited my purposes. So I put her to work. Do not hesitate to employ her. Should her services benefit you, despite her looks, she is more than capable in the press of battle.
Okay, weird. Anyways.
So, Godric the Grafted, Lord of Stormveil. Despite being the blood of Godfrey, first Elden Lord, he's a grotesque old fool grasping for power. His castle lies upon the cliff to Limgrave's northwest, but I suspect you know that well enough already. General Radahn, the famed Red Lion and Scourge of the Stars, is a ferocious warrior. He fought Melania and her rot to a standstill in the Caelid wilds to Limgrave's east. And now Caelid has been engulfed by the Scarlet Rot. Even approaching the region is no mean feat. I've heard survivors of Radahn's army are still in the wilds, staving off the rot with fire. And if it's true, I suspect Radahn is still there as well, in Caelid. Though, I doubt he much resembles his former self anymore.
So I believe that's the location where we find the Bestial Sanctum. So we could just warp there at any point, but obviously we're going to go there on foot.
Praetor Rykard is the Lord of the Volcano Manor on Mount Gelmir. He is a ruthless justiciar who commands a company of inquisitors, reviled for his serpentine demeanor. The volcano, Mount Gelmir, lies in the west of the Altus Plateau, the realm of the Erd Tree. It was the stage of the most appalling battle in the entirety of the Shattering. Rykard has committed the grave sin of blasphemy, marking himself as an enemy never to be forgiven.
Okay, so there were five shards of the Elden Ring, which suggests if there's 5 towers that we go to, then that's interesting. So obviously 5 times 2 is 10. So we can expect, in theory, that not only are we reunifying the runes that together constitute the Elden Ring, but also the various fingers and thumbs that constitute 2 hands. Yeah, I don't know what that means, but I was wondering about the fingers thing, and obviously I assumed because for instance, in Dark Souls 3, there's a character named Yellowfinger Hazel, and a couple of characters who have finger in their name, and I thought it was just metaphorical in this game, much like it was in Dark Souls 3, but yeah, it's a lot more literal than I had imagined it would be. Failure of imagination on my part, I suppose.
Morgoth the Grace-Given is Lord of Leyndell, the capital city. It lies at the foot of the Erd Tree, in the east of the Altus Plateau. But the 2 fingers forbid us from venturing there, until we've acquired enough great runes to repair the Elden Ring. Set your sights elsewhere for the time being. The Veiled Monarch can wait.
So, I guess that's the, Smolin Ornstein boss, in the sense that, you have to do things to get there. Or perhaps that you can do any of these bosses in more or less any order you want, except for Morgoth, for some reason.
The Academy of Rhea Lucaria lies to Limgrave's north. towering over the mist-laden lands of Liurnia. Renala is queen of the Carian royals, who govern the academy. But Renala herself is no demigod. Her beloved Radagon left her to become Queen Marika's second husband, taking the title of King Consort. The Great Rune dwells within the amber egg that was Radagon's gift to her.
Okay, well, nice chatting with you, Mr. Friendly. Now that I've defeated an Elden Lord, you're suddenly my best friend. Sir Gideon Ofnir, the All-Knowing. Clearly not all-knowing if you didn't know that I would eventually defeat an Elden Lord and get my hands on a great rune, but you know, we I guess can't be all-knowing, although that would make your name a bit weird, but whatever. No point in talking to you. There was one more person we needed to speak with, and that was the blacksmith. Because when I entered the Roundtable Hold while farming and came over to see if I could upgrade one of my weapons, he was praying to Queen Marika. So, and then when I spoke with him, he said something like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there," or something like that. But there is a dialogue option that we can use to ask about the prayer, so let's do that.
Well, where have you been hiding? I took you for dead. No matter, it's all the same. Lay out your arms, then.
Oh, no! So I've lost the option of asking about the prayer. Oh, that's... Gosh darn it. Yeah. Okay, I didn't want to do it off camera. While not recording, I should say. So, yeah. My bad, everyone. Obviously, you don't really know when characters are going to do certain things. I guess it's a safe bet once you've completed a major event, like killing a boss. But, yeah. Okay, we had an opportunity to ask. I guess next time I will just ask and get the footage, and then we can talk about it later or something. Oh, well, that's disappointing. Oh, well. Yeah, I think that's it for here. The question is now, do we want to try and kill that monstrosity in the depths of Stormveil Castle? Because I guess we're technically not done that area until we do that. So, yeah, let's head there. I cannot remember. There's this chest here as well. I still cannot remember whether that's one we ended up grabbing or not. So, yeah. I will need to look back at the footage from the previous episodes to get a sense of whether that's something we did so that I can remove it. I also cannot remember how exactly we got down to... Oh no. Whoop. Okay, the fall damage is a lot more forgiving than I'm expecting over and over again. Because I keep expecting I'm going to lose a ton of health, and then I barely lose any. So I'm going to try and keep that in mind. That the physics are a lot more floaty than I would expect based on my experiences in the previous Souls games. Whoop. Oh, okay. And I point that out because I was... in the previous episode, or the episode prior, of course, complaining, maybe not complaining, sharing observations about the level design in this game and how it differs quite a bit despite my original assumptions about this area, that it differs quite a bit from what I was expecting. And one of the bases for those, you know, not exactly complaints. I don't think they were really complaints. It was just making observations based on my experience in the game up to that point. was that there seemed to be multiple pathways through the area, and then it wasn't exactly like, you know, the Souls areas in games past where there was this very well curated and designed path through the area, and that you really couldn't, like, you could miss things, but, you know, everything was really well done in how it sort of folded in on itself. And yeah, you always sort of had a clear sense of where you could go and where you should go, or at least I felt that way in my experiences playing the Souls games. But in this game, you know, it's different, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But one of the revelations I had while putting my summon sign down yesterday off camera was, okay, there's actually quite a few ways you can go through the area, which is something I suspected, but a big part of the reason for my inability to detect that and take advantage of it is the verticality of the game, which in that respect, yeah, is very similar, I think, to Sekiro, because it was a very vertical game, but of course you had all sorts of tools that made that more easy to manage and easier to traverse the game world in a vertical manner, because you had like a grappling hook and things like that. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but in this game you don't have that. However, you do have a dedicated jump button, and you have, you know, the ability to fall a considerable distance without losing HP. So yeah, I guess I'm just trying to keep that in mind and trying to meet the game halfway, so to speak, in terms of all of these different things that, you know, may not conform to my expectations based on my prior experience playing Souls games, but that doesn't mean that it's bad or anything like that. It's just different. Okay, that's... oh my gosh. I don't know how to fight this thing other than to panic roll constantly. Oh yeah, so I guess the reason... oh my goodness, that was painful. Yeah, I got a really good sense of the verticality while following one of the host of fingers through the area en route to the boss. And I was like, oh, you can totally just jump down from great distance and do all these things I, you know, obviously wouldn't expect from a Souls game. Gosh darn it. Really have to get away from that quickly. Oh no, this is bad. Darn it. Oh no. Panic rolls. Wow, I was not expecting we'd... okay, I'm glad we came back because we needed that golden seed for the next charge in our flask. Okay, good times. So now that I can think again and not worry about getting obliterated, yeah, I followed one of the hosts of fingers through the area, and they were taking these paths through the area where I was like, wow, I hadn't actually considered that you could just jump down there and then just go where you're going. And yeah, so I need to be a lot more open-minded, I think, in future areas, and not just assume that my past experience will apply in every instance, because obviously it's not going to. Throwing daggers. So something else I noticed while editing because in the previous episode, obviously I was running away from that thing, is this face. And it was right here where I picked up this thing, the Prince of Death's pustule. And it says, it is said that this pustule came from the visage of the Prince of Death, he who used to be called Godwyn, as first dead of the demigods. It is said that he's buried deep under the capital at the Erd Tree's roots. So is that supposed to be Godwyn, I wonder? There was a word I wanted to look up there. What was it? Visage. Visage, I think. So visage, or visage, part of my mispronunciation, is as a noun, a person's face with reference to the form or proportions of the features, a person's facial expression, the surface of an object presented to view. So, in other words, indeed, that appears to be Godwyn. We picked that item from the visage of Godwyn, so this thing here. And yeah, I guess that's it. When we came here in the previous episode, I was running away from that friend, only because, yeah, of our experience with the previous, so I think it was the corpse here we picked it up from. Only because of our prior experience with the tree spirit in the fringe folk's grave. This person appears to be lying in a cocoon of some sort. But yeah, I'm not really sure that there's all that much else here, because of course we climbed up the ladder and it just led back to that area. So where does that leave us then? So we've taken care of this thing, so let's remove this marker. Don't know whether, again, I'll have to look back at the footage to see if we picked up that chest. I want to say we did. I suppose we should check to see, yeah, this does not have its own unique description. So in order to learn more about that tree spirit thing, we'll have to kill the one at the fringe folk's grave. But yeah, not today. So I think that's more or less it at the castle, Stormveil Castle. So we can remove that. I was clearly not intending, based on how far down the list that was, I was definitely not intending on dealing with that friend in this episode. So color me surprised that we did it on the first shot. But next we have to go to the first step at Limgrave. Okay, so the fallout from having defeated Godric the Grafted continues. Presumably there is a fallout associated with everyone you defeat, every Elden Lord you defeat. And perhaps some of this is just, you know, the first one you defeat, X, Y, and Z happens. But included is, what was his name? Something Varay. Something Masked Varay is not here anymore. So, you know, again, I noticed this off camera. Made a note to come back here, and this is once more a developer message, presumably left by Varay. And it reads, "Find yourself maidenless. Off to Liurnia with you then. Seek the Rose Church west of the gate town." So, yeah, that was definitely left by... I do really quite enjoy that the developer messages are now somewhat obviously and explicitly associated with particular NPCs. I enjoy that a lot. So, White Mask Varay, whatever his name was. Oh! So he was cheering for us. Seemingly. not at all unlike... I want to say that was in Bloodborne, but it may have been Dark Souls 3. There's some classic ones here. Point up and point down are still almost exactly the same. Looks like it is the exact same animation. Definitely the same animation. Back in, probably also the same. Warm welcome. That one's weird but good. Strength, we've seen that one. That one I think is new. Jump for joy is the same as it's always been, which is beautiful. Nothing that can be changed there to make it any better. Rallying cry is also the same. It might have been joy or something previously. Finger snap, I think that's a new one. Triumphant delight. I think that one started in Demon Souls. So yeah, so there's some old gestures and some new ones here. I'm going to assume that this list will scroll down. Because there's so many of them. But yeah, quite enjoy all of these, really. Okay, so where to now? That is the question. I'd be interested in seeing what Kenneth Haight has to say when they find out that we defeated Godric. Because I believe that Kenneth Haight was intent on defeating Godric, or seeing that Godric is defeated, because obviously he wouldn't be defeating Godric himself. So yeah, let's go have a look. Still got the pop in, I see. Just realized we have not added to our flasks, so let's do that now. And beautiful, we're now at 7 and 1. And I put the 1 flask into the Cerulean Tears simply because, yeah, we are going to have to deal with catacombs, friends who live in death very soon. So yeah, we need to be prepared for that. So now every time I see a tower in the distance, I'm thinking about what it's associated with, because initially I was just, it just seemed like part of the landscape to me. But now that I understand what they actually are, what we're looking at, it's obviously different. Okay, what the heck? Was that blue stuff to indicate that Torrent couldn't be called or couldn't be brought inside? Because I want to say these friends were all here previously, these demi-humans. Yeah, I believe that is almost exactly the same. They looked a little bit more frightening because it's at night and their eyes are red, so they glow a little bit. So I was a bit scared there for a minute, but yeah, that's more or less what we experienced last time when entering, although I think I was a bit more careful last time. Now, where is Kenneth Haight? There he is. Well, hello, good sir.
I must begin my search post-haste for a true and stalwart lord of the proper lineage to take the reins of Limgrave.
I'm standing right here, mister. Oh, I couldn't resist. Oh, man. Okay. So, what do we have left on our list? We did the first step, so that's done. Deathtouched Catacombs. That can't be the next thing. Can you tell I guess I'm not really that scared anymore now that we actually have the means to deal with those who live in death. But yeah, I guess that's next. So here we go. Okay, we're gonna have to get rid of that because Beast Eye quivers indeed, because those who live in death are nearby. I'm gonna do a little cheeky buff and then sit at the Site of Grace so that we get an additional one. Okay, Chalice Dungeon Exploration Heuristic, open before closed. So there's an open door or a closed door there. I assume that's where the boss is anyway, so we probably can't even open it. But the logic in the open before closed thing is that obviously to give yourself an idea of where you've been and where you need to go, you're much better off not opening a door if there is a closed path, or sorry, if there's a path without a door in front of you. No point in going there. Or sorry, no point in opening the door, because then you might forget, or at least I'm prone to forgetting. And that's the thing about a heuristic, is that it's not necessarily a perfect system for something. It's one that is useful in a particular situation in a given context. And so in this context, you know, I'm prone to getting lost and I'm prone to doing all these things. And so this is my way of addressing that. And open before closed, because then that way, you know, I don't open the door and then go, oh crud, where was I going? Like, it's probably going to happen anyway, but, and there goes our first buff. Okay, so that didn't last nearly as long as I was hoping it would. But we do have an additional charge of our Flask of Cerulean Tears. So we need to be relatively quick on our feet in here, I think. I need to spend less time yapping. We are just a shred. You're just a smidge, I should say, short of killing them with one hit, which is really annoying. Okay, one of them is shooting us from above. Normally I would take out my bow and arrow and take care of them, but obviously cannot do that in this instance because the bow and arrow... So, yeah. So we could not have opened the door anyway, but all the same, I think this system works in these areas, which is kind of funny just because of what it implies for what these areas are. Oh my gosh, okay. Careful, Aegon, careful. Pay attention. Because again, I developed this system to aid in my exploration of the Chalice Dungeons. Now, if you go back and you watch Bloodborne Let's Talk Lore, you won't hear me slagging off the Chalice Dungeons. I know a lot of people don't like the Chalice Dungeons. I enjoyed the Chalice Dungeons. I thought they could have been better. I thought they could have done more with them. There were some aspects of the Chalice Dungeons I enjoyed, some aspects I did not enjoy. But yeah, generally speaking, I think I was a lot more open to the Chalice Dungeons than a lot of people were. A lot of people just sort of cast them aside as being not worthwhile. But so I'm not one of those people. However, okay, so how the heck did we get up to that upper level then? Did I somehow miss that? But yeah, long story short, with the way these areas operate, I want to say the other catacombs was similar. Okay, I missed a door here. Thank you. But the way this place operates is very reminiscent of the Chalice Dungeons in that way, in that, like, not just because my exploration heuristic works here in the same way that it did there, but, you know, you go through the area, you flip a switch, and then it opens the door to the boss. So, you know, like it or not, that's exactly the way the Chalice Dungeons were designed. And so again, I'm not saying necessarily that means this area is somehow bad or, you know, lazy or anything like that, but yeah, it's a... Ooh, Oh, Uchikatana. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, that was very cheeky of you. And again, up before down, in the sense, oh gosh darn it, would have worked there if I had seen that tunnel, because then I would have known, okay, I can go this way, and then after I'm done exploring the upper area, it will feed me into the lower area, and then I can just finish exploring there. So anyways, yeah, I've talked about this at length at this point, but yeah, it's interesting in the sense that I wasn't sure whether it would work, but it does. Although I'm saying that while I'm sort of walking in circles, so maybe it doesn't work as well as I'm suggesting. So let's head back to the Site of Grace, have a rest, and then go see what the boss of the area is. Oh, come on. Okay, I did see try parrying. Black Knife Assassin. Okay. Reminiscent almost of... Oh, so the Knight of the Black Knives. Looks just like the friends from the cutscene. Wow, and there's no face there. That is very creepy. Assassin's Crimson Dagger. Okay, it's not a weapon. It's a talisman, an assassin's dagger, misshapen and stained in crimson. That is to say, red blood. Critical hits restore HP. This charm is modeled after the darkly gleaming blades used in the Knight of Black Knives, those which gave the demigods their first taste of death. Very interesting. Okay. Critical hits restore HP. I feel like that's an extraordinarily valuable talisman. What would we replace at this point, though? I guess it would be the arrow's reach. But, yeah, I'm probably going to want to go back to that at some point. But I feel like that will be very helpful in some areas. There's also a chest here. Deathroot, okay. So I assume every set of catacombs we clear will have a Deathroot at the end. Root resin. So yeah, pretty creepy. The area in the overall was probably not nearly as problematic, or I say probably, it was not nearly as problematic as I was making it out to be. However, I think that's just because we're actually well prepared now. And so something I may not have explicitly mentioned the previous time we were in one of these areas, the catacombs or cave or tunnel, whatever they were called, is that they all seem to have this sort of... Obviously, the roots of the Erd tree are running... Gosh darn it, I really do... hate having 3 items on one side, but yeah, so all of these people are trying to return to their roots, the roots of the Erd tree. And the root resin description more or less hints that the roots are rotting. What was it said? The roots of the great tree were once linked to those of the Erd tree, or so they say, and for this reason catacombs are built around great tree roots. Oh no, it wasn't that it said it in the description, but if you look at the image, it doesn't look tremendous. And, you know, to some degree, it seems almost like that's because the roots run through the whole world, obviously. And there's something very bad happening here, seemingly. That looks just like a finger. Or at least it did. I suppose that's, given everything we've learned, there's probably not an accident at this point. I really do wonder which of the two bosses is going to be a finger and a thumb, and whether they refer to them as finger as... I guess a thumb is still a finger, but still. Yeah. Anyways. I might be reading too much into that, but let's head back to the entrance. Do we have enough to level up? We do not. We are close, though, I think. A few thousand, anyway. You have anything to say, friend? Ooh, unthinkable. I'm pretty sure that's what they were saying before. I hope you all don't find my ghost voice to be too annoying. I realized while while doing editing for the previous episode, whenever I last spoke with a ghost, I'm like, wow, I really went full Paul Bearer with my voice. It was not intentional, but I definitely did go full Paul Bearer. Okay, so question is, where to now? Deathtouched Catacombs is done, so I guess it's the Summonwater Village outskirts, so let's head there. Once again, I'm in a situation where I'm not quite sure what the heck we're going to name this episode. This is the tower, the Caelid Divine Tower, presumably right here. Because of course we started the episode in Stormveil Castle. We ended up in the Catacombs, Deathtouched Catacombs, which is technically... I guess that's technically in Stormhill. But now, I think we're still... Are we still in Stormhill? I think it'll say Limgrave, yeah. Problem with the whole Limgrave thing, I think it's a similar issue to Dark Souls 3 with the whole idea of Lothric being a thing. Kingdom of Lothric, because Lothric is a place within Lothric, but then the whole kingdom is also Lothric. So it gets a bit confusing when you're trying to come up with a naming convention for your episodes based on the area. So what I think I'm going to do anyway is, when you're looking at the list of sites of grace, you can press R1, L1 to go left or right to different areas within that list. And even though a lot of it is Limgrave, there are spots, like if you go left or right, then it'll say, so for example, Stormveil Castle is its own page on that list. Whoa, you got some fancy moves there, friend, but not afraid of you anymore because I can actually kill you. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure what we're going to name this episode, because I started by thinking, okay, yeah, well, we are still in... Oh, leave me alone, please. We started in Stormveil Castle, sort of like doing all of the leftover things we had to do in Stormveil Castle. But then obviously, you know, that didn't take all that long. So, yeah, these are the things that I think about, which really are of no consequence to viewers in most instances. And yet, I still insist on telling you all about them anyway. So, my apologies for inundating you with unnecessary information, but obviously that's kind of what I do here. So it looks like we have some sort of graveyard type area over here. I wonder if these friends will also drop that item that Lautrec really wants us to get. You know, every time I see a gravestone, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's the thing from the painting. But there are so many gravestones in this game. Like, how am I supposed to know which one, which one it is? Yeah, I'm not doing that. Let's try. But yeah, again, I don't like having to have this buff in order to take care of these friends, because obviously I like to take my sweet time while going through areas, but maybe it's a good thing in that it sort of forces me to be a bit more snappy in going through some of these areas. Okay, yeah, I thought that graveyard was going to be a thing, but it wasn't. Really nothing going on there. We've already checked out this place here. So yeah, obviously the main point of this whole area, Summonwater Village, was for that boss fight. So I can't expect there to be anything remarkable here, but I was just wanting to make sure that we have not missed anything. And it looks like we have not. Oh, turtles. I'm cognizant of the fact that I mentioned I was going to talk a little bit more about the name Turtle Island, and that I've not yet done that. Okay, so there is an underground place here. So I have not forgotten, but that is a thing that... So I do have a video that I'm going to want to play some excerpts from at a certain point when we return to the subject. But probably not in this video, because again, I want to be able to give the video an appropriate introduction and contextualize the things that are being said. That giant looks awful lonely down there. I believe that's the Church of Marika there. I'm sorry, friend, I know, being crucified is not fun. Okay, one of the other things on this is, I think, the last thing on my list, is one of the things that the Finger said by way of that, the proxy, the finger reader. I guess their name makes sense now. They're not just like a palm reader in that, like, oh yeah, I'll read your palm for $20. Like, the idea, I guess, is that they are the representatives of... Oh, okay. Okay, you are annoying me, so I'm going to leave you alone. And hope that you do the same to me. One of the things... What the... Oh, no! I was supposed to be good at dealing with the Alluring Skulls, but I somehow messed that one up. This whole idea... No, crud. Okay, I gotta use another buff. What the Finger said, according to the Finger Reader, about the world. They said that across the realm, life lies in ruin, fallen to pieces. So just sort of, you know, making the point about, yeah, this world is not dead, but it's definitely dying, or it's, you know, very, very close to being dead. That something horrible has happened and, you know, we need you to go and fix it, essentially. But the interesting thing is, or at least I find it interesting, is that, you know, I don't fully, and maybe it's a gameplay thing, and the issue with that is that, of course, yeah, you can never have gameplay and story be completely in sync with one another. There's always going to be just gameplay things. And one of those things, you know, there are these flowers everywhere. There are, you know, what you might call, quote-unquote, wild animals running around. They appear to be healthy, you know, other than the fact that there's a squirrel mixed with a fox or whatever those friends are. But the turtles appear to be, like, everyone appears to be doing relatively okay in the open world part of the world. So... you know, yeah, that's not to say that there isn't a lot of things that are, you know, in disrepair or awful, like these people being crucified and whatnot, but I do think that the finger was perhaps exaggerating a bit, and maybe it's just because I've not seen enough of the world, but the finger was saying that across the realm, life lies in ruin, fallen to pieces. But it's demonstrably untrue. These turtles would beg to differ with that assessment. Yeah, I don't even know what a finger is. But I know that I am happy. Although, I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to live near water. And there's no water here. So I guess I'll go look for some water. Bye-bye. You know, here I am talking trash about that finger reader crone for speaking for the fingers, and here I am trying to speak for turtles. But do we want to use a stone sword key? Why not? Anyways, yeah, I thought it was interesting because they were making it seem like the world is in just this awful, awful state, and maybe these turtles will, again, beg to differ with me. Hopefully they're not, none of these friends are about to turn into a monster and completely prove me wrong. This one is like on its side. Are you okay? Oh, you're just either glitching out or trying to show me that you can fly. I don't know what's going on here. We all good here, friends? Okay, question is this a trap or not? Still have no idea what we need to do about that trapped chest, but yeah, it's obviously still on the map, so. Green Turtle Talisman. A talisman in the shape of a green turtle raises stamina recovery speed. Turtles are known as a nutritious ingredient symbolic of inexhaustible power. However, those who hold turtles to be wise creatures consider the practice of eating their meat to be barbarous. So, in other words, to be the actions of a barbarian type person. So, yeah, more or less the reaction I had earlier. Oh, gosh darn it. So now I'm struggling in terms of what do we equip? We have to have stamina recovery speed. That goes without saying. But for the second one, we actually do have quite a few choices now. I'm going to say, insofar as we're going to continue to deal with those who live in death, vitality is going to be important. However, I don't know if that will... Yeah, we'll stick with vitality, and then if we find we're in a situation where we really need that extra HP, then we'll switch to that other talisman. Okay, friends. I hope you're all doing okay here. This one is about to burn its backside. Yeah, head to the Summonwater Village. I cleared it out for you guys and girls, and you can have a nice spot to relax and, I don't know, moisturize your shells. I'm not really sure what turtles do with water, but other than, you know, swim in it and stuff, but okay. So now where to from here? So we can continue following this path, and then, yeah, I guess we have this thing here, this thing here. So we can maybe mark some spots on the map that we're going to want to visit. It really was several episodes ago when I was marking spots all the way over here. I was quite ambitious in thinking that we would eventually come all this way, even though we still had a number of things to deal with in that particular area. So some ruins over there. This is the graveyard we were just at. Okay. Yeah, I've been thinking, okay, I'm going to be better at the open world exploration now because, I've already sort of been through it in several different areas, but I'm already like questioning my choices and decisions. And we've not been doing it for very long, so maybe I've not learned all that much. I don't know. It's really tough to say what, especially when you're recording an entire playthrough in advance. Maybe that was ill-advised of me, but it really is difficult to say what people are going to enjoy watching. And when you have no, forget real-time feedback, no feedback whatsoever until you're completely done a series, it really does change the way you have to approach it. Or, I'm not even sure if it changes the way you have to approach it, it just makes it so that, you're constantly feeling anxious, wondering about whether you are making something that people will enjoy watching. So hopefully you're enjoying watching this. I suppose if you weren't, you probably would not be watching it anymore at this point, because it's more or less more of the same at this point in the playthrough as it's been up to this point. The style has not changed a ton, other than, I guess, I've become a little bit more knowledgeable of the various things that are happening in the world, and, perhaps of certain mechanics that I perhaps ought to have understood a bit sooner, but for one reason or another did not. Some more ruins here that don't seem especially significant. Okay, again, I was expecting maybe we'd find something in those ruins there, but presumably that was where the boss fight would have transpired if you needed, you needed more breathing room, you wanted to be able to sort of run around and create space for yourself. That's one way you could have done that, but so we can jump down here with our horse. Don't know if there's any reason to do that, though. Because I want to say, no, I don't believe we have explored any of this, because this right here is the Church of Marika. Got a bunch of wolves there. I'm not really seeing anything else. There's a hill that we can climb up and then go down there to see what's happening. But yeah, again, it really doesn't seem like there's all that much going on there, so who knows. Path continues on in that direction. I can see one of the beacons that we've left. So this right here, the goats, this was another reason I had for that idea of the soundscapes of Elden Ring. That, I want to just turn off the music, go to a bunch of different areas in the game, and just listen to the sights and sound, or, look at the sights, listen to the sounds, because, I find it just really interesting. That they went, whoa, okay, that's different. They went through all that work to, oh my goodness. Yeah, give me back the good music, please, and the non-red sky. Okay, good. Because, yeah, I found myself in between a bunch of goats, in amongst a bunch of goats, and they were all going, bleh, bleh, and I just thought it would make a cute part of one of those videos. Oh, I guess we have to enter the area, so let's do it. But yeah, once more, there's a hard transition point seemingly between the areas, where the weather transitions. Like so, and then suddenly everything is red. Yeah, so we've officially entered Caelid. Absolutely frightening. So this place is affected by rot, as we've learned previously. And there are friends walking around with torches, presumably burning things that are infected by rot in an attempt to... And, you know, that's a real thing that, you know, some forest fires are controlled burns. Smoldering Church is definitely smoldering. So, you know, forests are often, in some cases, forests are managed using controlled burns, or what are supposed to be controlled burns anyway, because, of course, forest fires, you know, we call them wildfires. Often they're caused by anthropogenic factors. That is to say, they're human-caused, caused by humans and climate change and things like that. But otherwise, you know, forest fires are a thing that happen naturally to sort of manage the growth of forests. So they're, you know, obviously natural equilibrium, natural ecosystems and stuff like that. But presumably what's happening here is obviously something different. But the role of whoever it is that was mentioned as walking around with torches and sort of manually burning things, burning rot away, I imagine they're doing something similar here. Smoldering Church. Okay, so what do we got here? Nomadic Warriors Cookbook 14. A record of crafting techniques left by roaming nomad warriors contains knowledge for surviving in the face of utter scarcity. Acquire the knowledge to craft the following: poison pot, roped poison pot, poison bone dart. Nice. Missionary's Cookbook 3. So it's a nomad and a missionary here. A record of crafting techniques left by a man who, unable to become a finger maiden, instead became a missionary and went forth to spread holy teachings. Acquire the knowledge to craft the following: silver pickled fowl foot. Oh my gosh, I'm almost scared to go on at this point. Yeah, so that behind us is the Limgrave Divine Tower. And that would be the Caelid Divine Tower. That could be the Bestial Sanctum. Or is it? May well be the Bestial Sanctum. There's another tower here. I wonder if that's the one we're not able to reach yet until we've reached the others. I really don't think that we should proceed any further because I feel like this is a very natural ending point. I don't really have a lot of time left for recording anyway, so I don't really want to get into the area and then have to immediately end the episode. So yeah, that's going to do it. I suppose we're proceeding forth to complete Caelid after this episode. So yeah, I'm very much enjoying the ride, and I hope you're enjoying being along with me for the ride, I should say. So thank you all very, very much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.